Some adults don't struggle because they're weak. They struggle because love never felt predictable to them. They don't panic loudly. They don't always talk about trauma. But in relationships, something always feels slightly tense, like they're waiting for something to go wrong. And most of the time, they don't even know why. What shapes these patterns usually isn't something dramatic that happened. It's something quieter, something missing. Growing up without consistent emotional love doesn't just hurt in childhood. It quietly rewires how your brain learns to feel safe, and that wiring often follows you into adulthood. Today, we're going to look at how that happens and how it continues to shape adult behavior in ways most people misunderstand. The psychological foundation. Developmental psychology shows us something important. A child doesn't just need food and shelter. They need emotional warmth, affection that is consistent, validation that isn't conditional. When that love is missing, whether through neglect, emotional unavailability, or care that only appears when the child behaves correctly, the nervous system adapts. Psychologists call these adaptations attachment wounds. They don't disappear with age. They don't fade just because you grow up. They quietly shape how you see yourself, how you connect with others, and how your body responds to closeness. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your brain learned early that emotional safety was unpredictable. Pattern 1. Hypervigilance in relationships. One of the first ways this shows up is emotional hypervigilance. As an adult, you might constantly scan for signs that someone is pulling away. You overanalyze texts, you notice tone shifts, you brace yourself even when nothing is wrong. This isn't paranoia, it's a nervous system that learned early that love could disappear without warning. So your brain stays alert, not to enjoy connection, but to predict loss. Psychology often refers to this as anxious attachment, but what matters more is this. Your mind is still trying to control what once felt uncontrollable. Pattern 2. When love feels uncomfortable. Another pattern is difficulty receiving love. Someone compliments you, and instead of feeling warm, you feel uneasy. You deflect, you doubt their sincerity, or part of you wants to pull away. When emotional love was missing early on, the brain often forms a quiet belief, I'm not really worthy of this. So when love appears later, it doesn't feel safe. It feels unfamiliar. Your brain rejects positive input because it conflicts with how you learn to see yourself. And here's where this becomes misunderstood. From the outside, people may read you as distant, cold, or emotionally closed. They don't see the internal conflict. They only see the withdrawal. Pattern 3. Earning love through performance. If love was conditional growing up, you likely learned that your value came from what you did, not who you were. So as an adult, you may become an overachiever, a perfectionist, a chronic people pleaser. You tell yourself, if I'm successful enough, helpful enough, good enough, then I'll finally be lovable. But it never feels like enough, because you're trying to earn something that was supposed to be freely given. Psychology sometimes calls this earned security seeking. But emotionally, it feels like running a race with no finish line. And socially, this pattern often gets rewarded. People praise your reliability, your productivity, your availability. But inside, there's quiet exhaustion, because performance can't heal an emotional wound. Pattern 4. Emotional numbness. For some people, the adaptation goes in the opposite direction. When emotional closeness wasn't safe, the nervous system learned to shut down. If you don't feel deeply, you can't be hurt deeply. So as an adult, you may feel emotionally neutral, disconnected, unable to access strong feelings, even in relationships that matter. From the outside, you seem fine, calm, stable. But inside, there's distance from others and sometimes from yourself. Psychologists refer to this as emotional blunting or dissociation. It's one of the most misunderstood effects of emotional neglect, because numbness looks like strength until you realize it's protection. Pattern 5. The fear of being a burden. Another lasting effect is a deep fear of being too much. If your needs were ignored or treated as inconvenient as a child,
You learn to minimize yourself. As an adult, you apologize often. You avoid asking for help. You hide when you're struggling. You'd rather suffer quietly than risk bothering someone. At some point, you internalize the belief that your needs were a problem. And while psychology reminds us that having needs is human, this belief doesn't disappear just because you understand it intellectually. Socially, this pattern often leads to imbalance. You give more than you receive. You tolerate more than you should. And sometimes the wrong people notice that.
Here's the part people don't talk about enough. Others don't respond to your childhood. They respond to the patterns it left behind. Hypervigilance can be mistaken for insecurity. Emotional distance can be mistaken for indifference. Overfunctioning can be mistaken for unlimited availability. Some people misunderstand these patterns. Others unconsciously benefit from them. This isn't about blame. It's about awareness. Because what once helped you survive can quietly shape the kinds of relationships you enter and stay in. If you recognized yourself in any of this, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your nervous system adapted to a world that didn't offer consistent emotional safety. But survival strategies aren't meant to be permanent identities. Emotional intelligence begins when you stop confusing survival with who you are. And awareness, calm, honest awareness, is where that shift starts. If this helped you see yourself more clearly, you might want to stay. On this channel, we explore the quieter side of psychology, the patterns most people feel but rarely name. Subscribe if you want to understand your inner world without noise or judgment.